Hi, I'm Kelsey from the website poofycheeks.com, where I share hundreds of free cut files for Silhouette and Cricut machine users, craft tutorials, DIY projects, and more. Today I wanted to address a question about how to cut large pieces of vinyl for signs using the Silhouette Cameo. So let's dive right in and open up the design that I have here in Silhouette Studio. I created this design for my aunt, and it's going to go on a sign measuring 12 by 36 inches. You can find many designs perfect for sign making on Etsy, and I'll link to some of those in the description below. Once your file is loaded, you need to set up your workspace and prepare to cut without the mat. So in the page setup tab, you're going to change your mat size to none, and then change the material size, width and height to match that of your vinyl. For most of you, the width is going to be the 12 inches, just like a normal roll of vinyl, and the length will be the length of your sign. So in my case, I'm going to do 36 inches long. I try not to waste vinyl, so I'll show you how I move the design to save some vinyl here in the end. But I find it easier to view the design as it would look when I put it on the sign when I'm here in Silhouette Studio. So I use the rotate view, and I rotate the mat on my screen, and for reference, that arrow shows the side that will load to your machine. After I get the page set up the way I want it, I start resizing the design. I did have to rotate my design so that it would be the way I'm going to see it on the sign, and then I just make little adjustments trying to figure out the correct size that I want everything to be. And what I'll do is, once I get the size I like, I will move the design close to that arrow, leaving the excess on the right, so it won't actually go like that on my sign. So I have a trick that will help you center your design onto your sign, but first you want to make sure to select the entire design, right click and group it. Then you're going to make 2 small circles or squares and place them at the top and bottom of your design, just trying to eyeball the center. Doesn't have to be exactly centered, because once we get those 2 shapes, we will select everything and we will click on the align tool and center it all so it's exactly centered. Next, you're going to grab that square again, the square shape, and you're going to drag a rectangle around your entire design. This step is going to help make sure that the design is lined up and straight on your sign. So sometimes when you're cutting, your mat might not be going in and out exactly, and so this will make sure that everything is square and centered and so on. Again, then you're going to select everything, all those shapes and the design, and you're going to center align them. And then what I'll usually do is just select that big rectangle I made and the design, and then I will make sure that they're horizontally aligned so everything is perfectly centered, both horizontally and vertically. Now we're ready to cut the vinyl, so we're going to click send at the top right. We're going to pick vinyl matte from our material list, and I always make some minor adjustments to the settings that Silhouette suggests for you. I bump up the blade depth from a 1 to a 2, and then I take the force up to a 12. In order to cut without a mat, you do need to also adjust the rollers to be a bit closer than you would if you were using a mat. So flip open your machine, and there's a little tab on the right you need to unlock, and that'll unlock the rollers so you can adjust them. The most important roller to adjust is the one on the very right, depending on what machine you have. Mine does have this. There's like a little lock button. I actually have to press it in to move that roller. And hold your vinyl up to the machine. Make sure the spacing is correct. Make sure that the rollers are going to hit the vinyl. And then once you have it in place, you will take that little tab on the right and lock it back into place. I usually load my vinyl, and once I load it, using that align line there on the left, I will make sure that it's also, going in straight, and I might even unlock it to make some minor adjustments and lock it back. To answer the question about where I get my vinyl, I will link to the 5-yard roll of removable vinyl that I always use in the description below. But back in Silhouette Studio, let's press send and start cutting our design. When the vinyl is done cutting, remove it from the machine and find the end of your design, the end of that rectangle, and then make a small snip. You'll flip it over with right side down and use your grid lines to cut a perfectly straight line. You want to keep it straight so that the next time you go to cut without a mat, you can easily load it into your machine. Okay, so we're going to start weeding off the excess vinyl. First, we'll start taking off all the excess around that rectangle, and then we'll start weeding the inside of the design. I'll speed through this part, but don't forget to weed those little shapes that you added to help center your design. Using a ruler or a tape measure, you can mark the center of your sign at the top and bottom. And then I use transfer tape to transfer my vinyl onto the sign. So using the transfer tape to transfer your vinyl onto the sign, this was a painful process because I was using contact paper from the store instead of the normal transfer tape that I prefer. My supplier has been out for a couple weeks, and so now I'm thinking I probably should just try to find another brand because this is the second time it's happened, but I had to improvise and push through with lots and lots of patience. Once you get that transfer paper off, everything's lined up, you're going to take 2 little pieces of tape and cover up those shapes that you put for the alignment so that you don't accidentally paint inside those or get paint inside of them. Now it's time to paint our sign. I'm using the Folk Art black acrylic. Leave it to me to get paint on my fingers when I'm using a paintbrush. But you're gonna load your paint onto the brush just a little bit, and then you're gonna dab it off, flip your brush and dab a little more off before starting to dab onto your design. So it's kind of hard to see here since it's white on white, but I'm just doing like a dabbing motion, and then I kind of will go back. I'll just do light coats. With black, you usually only, black on white especially, you usually only need 1 to 2 coats. So as you can see here, you can see some of the shapes when I do that. And then now I'll go back and add in that dabbing motion. Another thing is that as the paint dries, that's when you can start to see that maybe you missed a spot. You just go back over it and cover that up. I hope you found this video helpful. If there's any other questions that you had or something else that you would like me to answer, leave a question down below in the comments and I'll try my best. In the meantime, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and follow us for